Lyra walked slowly through the crowded streets of Zephyra, her head low. The city was alive with colors and lights, but none of it made her happy today. Every step she took, whispers followed her. "Look at her," said one alien. "She is strange. Useless." Another laughed, pointing at the small device Lyra carried. It was her secret, a little human gadget she had found in the market. Lyra's ears twitched nervously. She had heard the teasing all her life, but it never got easier. Her kind, the Zephyrans, were proud, strong, and clever, yet they could not accept differences. Lyra's curiosity about humans, her fascination with their stories and inventions, made her an outcast. "Humans are weak," they said. "Why care about them?" But Lyra didn't listen. She dreamed of understanding them, of learning what made them survive against impossible odds. The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and purple. Lyra found a quiet corner near the edge of the city. She took out the small device, a human data pad, and activated it. Images of human cities, machines, and even their simple homes flickered on the screen. She studied every detail, her eyes shining with curiosity. Humans were nothing like Zephyrans. They were fragile, unarmed, yet somehow powerful. A sudden voice broke her concentration. Still staring at those silly humans. It was Varric, one of the older Zephyrans, tall and broad with scales that shimmered under the evening light. He leaned against the wall, grinning. "They are not silly," Lyra said softly, trying to hide the pad behind her back. Varric laughed, a harsh, rattling sound. "No one cares about your silly humans. You waste your time on nothing. You should focus on real Zephyrans, not weaklings from another world." Lyra's heart sank, but she didn't reply. She couldn't argue. Varric's words always hit her harder than anyone else's. He was popular, feared, and everyone followed his lead. But Lyra had a secret. She wasn't like the others, and she didn't want to be. As the sky darkened, Lyra walked back home. Her small apartment was quiet, filled with more human gadgets, books, and devices she had secretly collected over the years. She often spent nights here, learning, imagining, and dreaming. Tonight, however, she felt a strange restlessness, a sense that something unusual was about to happen. She didn't know what it was, but her heart beat faster with excitement. The next morning, the city was buzzing with news. A human spaceship had been spotted in the outer atmosphere. Lyra's eyes widened. Humans? Really? No one had seen a human in Zephyra for centuries. Most aliens dismissed it as a mistake, an old legend, perhaps. But Lyra felt a pull she couldn't explain. Something inside her told her this was the chance she had been waiting for. She decided to see the spaceship for herself. Moving carefully, she climbed to the city's observation towers, where the stars could be seen clearly. There it was, bright, small, and falling rapidly. Smoke trailed behind it as it descended toward the uninhabited lands outside the city. Lyra's mind raced. Could a human really survive that? Everyone said humans were weak, fragile, unable to withstand the harshness of space. But she felt certain this one could, and more than that, she felt hope. Suddenly, a group of Zephyrans appeared at the tower. Varric and his friends sneered. "Watching your silly human again, Lyra," Varric hissed. "Careful. Don't get hurt chasing shadows." Lyra took a deep breath. I have to see this," she said, her voice trembling but firm. She turned and ran before they could stop her, her long legs carrying her swiftly through the twisting streets. The city faded behind her as she reached the open plains where the spaceship had crashed. The air smelled of burning metal and strange energy. The ground was scorched, and smoke spiraled into the sky. Lyra approached cautiously. Her heart pounded in her chest. There, among the wreckage, she saw a figure. Small, fragile, but moving, human. The alien girl's eyes widened in awe. This was unlike anything she had seen before. Despite the fire and chaos, the human seemed alive, alert, and thinking. Lyra stepped closer, her fear mixed with curiosity. She could see the determination in his eyes, the same spark she had admired from humans in her studies. And at that moment, something inside her shifted. For the first time, she felt a connection, a purpose. Maybe, just maybe, humans were not weak. As the smoke cleared, Lyra realized she was no longer alone in her fascination. The human had survived, and she knew she had to protect him. Her kind might never understand, but she did, and that was enough. Little did Lyra know this human would change her life forever, and perhaps even the fate of Zephyra itself. The alien girl, once mocked and laughed at, now held the key to something greater than herself. She only had to take the first step, and she did. Lyra moved carefully across the scorched plains, her eyes fixed on the smoking spaceship. The wind carried a mix of metal scent and strange energy. She had never seen anything like it. Every instinct told her to stay back, but curiosity burned too strongly to ignore. The human lay nearby, coughing and weak, but alive. His uniform was torn and burned in places. Lyra's heart raced. She had studied humans for years, but seeing one in real life was different. Fragile, small, yet strangely brave. "Are you alive?" she whispered, taking cautious steps forward. The human stirred. His eyes opened slowly, scanning the strange alien planes. Then they locked on Lyra. For a moment, neither spoke. Words seemed impossible. He seemed as curious about her as she was about him. Lyra realized he did not speak her language, and she did not know his. But humans were clever, she had learned. Gestures, expressions, and actions could communicate more than words. She held out her hand, showing him a small water container. The human looked at it, then nodded, gratefully taking a sip. Lyra smiled softly. One small step, but it was progress. "Why, are you here?" she asked, keeping her voice low. He didn't answer, only shook his head, weakly smiling. She guessed he didn't understand her question. Lyra realized she needed to find another way to communicate. She pointed to herself and said, "Lyra." Then she pointed at him. "You?" The human raised a finger to his chest and said a word Lyra could not understand. She repeated it slowly, trying to remember. He nodded, giving her a small, tired smile. Human, she realized. That was it. He was a human. Lyra's heart skipped. Humans, real humans, had survived in space, in ways her kind had long dismissed as impossible. She felt a strange excitement and fear at the same time. The human tried to stand, but his leg gave way. Lyra rushed to help him. "Careful!" "Careful," she said, guiding him to a safe spot behind some rocks. He leaned on her shoulder, grateful but silent. His eyes were full of trust, something Lyra had never expected to feel so quickly. Suddenly, a sound made them both freeze. A patrol of Zephyrans was searching the crash site. Lyra's stomach tightened. If they found a human here, it would be chaos. The human would be taken and likely studied, or worse. Lyra whispered, "We must hide." She led him behind a larger rock formation. The patrol passed, unaware of the human's presence. Her heart pounded in her chest. She realized how dangerous this was, but she could not leave him. Humans had something inside them, something her kind could not understand. Hours passed. Lyra stayed near the human, helping him recover. She noticed small things, the way he examined the wreckage, trying to figure out what had gone wrong, the careful way he touched the ground, even his own clothes. Every action showed thought, cleverness, and care. Lyra's fascination grew. He was weak in the eyes of the Zephyrans, yes, but strong in ways that mattered. He could survive, he could solve problems, and he could adapt. Her mind raced. Humans were underestimated, and this one, he might change everything. Night fell. Stars filled the sky, bright against the darkness. Lyra had never felt so alive. She sat beside the human, watching him examine a small tool from the wreckage. "What is this?" he asked, showing her a strange piece of metal. Lyra realized he had figured out how to use it, even though it was clearly alien in design. "I don't know," she admitted, hiding her amazement. But inside she felt awe. This human could do things no Zephyran could. Suddenly they heard movement. The patrol had returned, searching more thoroughly this time. Lyra froze, realizing the danger. She grabbed the human's hand. "Run," she whispered. They darted into the shadows, moving silently. Lyra led him through narrow canyons, careful not to make a sound. Every step was tense. She had never felt such fear before, but also such determination. She could not let them catch him. Not now. As they paused to catch their breath, the human looked at her and for the first time tried a word. "Thanks." His accent was strange, but she understood. Lyra smiled. Humans were strange, unpredictable, and yet capable of things she had only imagined. "We must hide more," she said, pointing to a distant cave. They ran again, hearts pounding, adrenaline rushing. Lyra realized she was learning from him, just as much as he might learn from her. Humans were different, yes, but in ways that could outsmart even her own kind. By the time they reached the cave, both were exhausted, but alive. Lyra made a small fire and gathered some edible plants. The human watched, curious and careful, learning quickly. Lyra realized that this was only the beginning. A strange excitement filled her. The Zephyrans had mocked her curiosity, her love for humans, but now she had proof humans were not weak. And this human, he could change everything. Lyra looked at him, determination in her eyes. She didn't know how, but she would protect him, and together they might teach her kind a lesson they had never expected. Outside, the wind howled, carrying whispers of the Zephyran city far away. But inside that cave, a new alliance had begun, one that could shake the beliefs of an entire world, and Lyra knew deep in her heart that this human was just the beginning. Lyra watched the human closely. He moved with careful precision, examining the cave, touching the walls, and studying the strange plants around them. He looked small, fragile, and ordinary, but Lyra knew better. Humans were different. They survived in ways her kind could never imagine. "Can you eat this?" Lyra asked, holding out a small root. The human tilted his head, studying it carefully, then smiled faintly. He tested a small bite and nodded. Lyra felt a strange respect building inside her. He learned quickly, noticing things she didn't even think about. For days they stayed hidden in the cave. Lyra taught him what she could about the planet, which plants were safe, how the Zephyrans moved, and which areas were dangerous. In return, the human showed her something unexpected. He began inventing solutions, combining pieces of Zephyran technology with what he had in his backpack. Lyra gasped when she saw him repair a small device from the spaceship. "How?" she whispered. He smiled and shrugged as if it was simple. That was the thing about humans. What seemed impossible to the Zephyrans was simple to them. "You're clever," Lyra said. She had never admitted it aloud before, not even to herself. The human just nodded, concentrating. Then, carefully, he activated the device. A faint blue glow lit the cave. It hummed, alive with energy. Lyra stared amazed. She had never seen an alien machine work like that. The sound of movement outside the cave snapped her attention to the entrance. Zephyrans were searching again. Lyra's heart raced. The human noticed her fear and whispered, "I can help. Trust me." Her eyes widened. Could he really do it? She nodded. The human quickly examined the cave entrance, noticing small cracks and weaknesses in the rocks. Using a small tool, he shifted the rocks silently, creating a hidden escape path. Lyra's jaw dropped. No Zephyran patrol would ever notice it. "You saved us," she breathed. He shook his head. "We help each other," he said simply. That was the thing about humans. They were not just clever. They worked together even with strangers. For the next few days they practiced together. Lyra watched him solve problems in ways she could never imagine. He used his hands, his mind, and even his body in ways that seemed impossible for Zephyrans. He could climb, jump, and manipulate objects with extreme precision. He found patterns in chaos. Lyra realized something important. Her kind judged strength by muscle and size, but humans measured strength differently, by creativity, thinking, and adaptability. And in that, humans were far superior. One evening, as they rested near a hidden stream, Lyra asked, "Why do you help me? You don't even know me." The human smiled faintly. "Because you are kind. You trust me." Lyra felt a warmth she had never experienced. It was strange to see a human as both fragile and stronger than anyone else she knew. She realized she was learning from him, not just about survival, but about courage, hope, and cleverness. But danger was never far. One morning, while they gathered food, Zephyran scouts appeared nearby. Lyra froze. The human looked at her calmly. "Stay behind me," he whispered. They watched as the scouts approached. The human didn't panic. Instead, he used small reflective surfaces to blind the scouts briefly, then created small distractions using rocks and debris. Lyra gasped. No Zephyran would expect this. The scouts turned, confused, and ran off, thinking it was some natural event. Lyra realized something. Humans were unpredictable. They could survive, escape, and even turn situations to their advantage in ways Zephyrans never imagined. That night, near the cave, Lyra whispered, You are different, stronger than them all." The human looked at her, serious. "We are together. We can do more." Lyra nodded. She understood now. It was not just about hiding or surviving. They could change the Zephyrans' view, prove that humans were not weak, and show that strength came in many forms. Her mind raced. Maybe her kind would finally respect differences. Maybe they would see that humans had value beyond what Zephyrans had imagined. But first they needed a plan, and then without warning a loud alarm echoed from the city. Lyra's heart stopped. Someone must have discovered the human. The Zephyrans were coming, stronger, faster, and more organized than ever before. The human looked at her, calm as ever. "We face them together," he said. His eyes sparkled with determination. Lyra nodded. She felt a new courage rising inside her. The human had taught her something powerful. Strength was not always about size or force. It was about thinking, courage, and heart. They prepared side by side. The coming conflict would test them both, and the fate of the alien city might rest in the hands of a small, clever human and an alien girl who dared to believe in him. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt unstoppable. The Zephyrans did not know what was coming, and they would soon learn, in ways they could never imagine. Lyra's heart raced as the alarm echoed across the plains. Zephyran patrols were moving fast, their sharp eyes scanning for any sign of the human. She glanced at him. His calm expression contrasted with the fear she felt inside. Somehow he seemed ready for this. "We need to move," he whispered, gesturing to a narrow canyon that led away from the plains. Lyra nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Together, they slipped into the shadows, moving as silently as possible. Every sound of crunching rock made her stomach twist. One mistake and it would all be over. The patrols were close. Lyra could see their glowing eyes scanning the rocks, their sharp voices shouting commands. She froze as one of them stepped dangerously close. The human pressed a hand on her shoulder. "Trust me," he said. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small, shiny device. With quick movements, he activated it. A bright pulse shot out, creating a blinding light and loud sound, momentarily stunning the scouts. Lyra watched, amazed. The human had turned danger into advantage, just like she had seen in the devices he repaired earlier. They ran through the canyon, twisting and turning, the echo of the Zephyran patrols fading behind them. Lyra's lungs burned, but she didn't stop. She realized something important. Humans didn't give up, no matter how small or weak they seemed. Suddenly, a large boulder blocked their path. Lyra froze. There was no way around it. But the human didn't hesitate. He examined the rock carefully, then used a small tool to wedge it, creating a gap just wide enough to slip through. Lyra followed, her heart pounding with awe. Every step he took seemed to challenge what she had been taught about strength. As they emerged on the other side, the human paused. "We need a hiding place," he said. He scanned the area and spotted a series of small caves hidden behind thick vines. "There," he said. Lyra nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. Inside the cave, they rested for a moment. Lyra's mind was racing. You are incredible," she whispered. How do you do all of this?" The human smiled faintly. "We think differently," he said simply. "We find ways. Even when it seems impossible." Lyra realized the truth in his words. Zephyrans were strong, yes, but predictable. Humans were creative, adaptable, and fearless, in ways aliens could not understand. This human could survive anything, not because he was stronger, but because he used his mind. Outside, the sounds of pursuit were fading. But danger was far from over. Lyra knew the Zephyrans would not give up easily. They would come back better prepared, stronger. She shivered at the thought. The human seemed to sense her worry. "We can face them," he said calmly. "Together," Lyra nodded, drawing courage from his confidence. She felt a spark she had never felt before, hope. Maybe they could change the Zephyrans' view. Maybe they could show them that humans were not weak. For the next few days they moved cautiously through the wild lands, learning each other's strengths. Lyra taught him about alien plants, safe paths, and hidden dangers. He taught her about humans, how to improvise, adapt, and think ahead. Every lesson was a revelation. She realized that the Zephyrans had judged strength wrong all along. One evening, as they rested near a hidden waterfall, Lyra looked at him. You might be able to teach my people something," she said softly. He nodded. "Maybe, but first, we must survive." Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the trees. Lyra froze. The human crouched, examining the movement. A group of Zephyran scouts emerged, faster and more determined than before. Lyra's heart leapt. They had tracked them. The human whispered, "Follow my lead." With quick, precise movements, he used small tools and reflective surfaces to create false trails and distractions. Rocks fell, light flashed, and sounds echoed, confusing the scouts. Lyra watched, amazed at how clever he was. Every move was calculated, every step precise. The scouts roared in frustration, unable to follow the real trail. Lyra grinned, feeling exhilarated. Humans were truly different from anything her kind had ever seen. As night fell, they finally reached a safe valley. Exhausted but alive, Lyra realized how much she had learned from this human. Not just survival tricks, but courage, creativity, and determination. He was small, fragile, and underestimated, but he had changed everything. Lyra sat beside him, staring at the stars. She thought of her city, her kind, and the mockery she had faced all her life. But now she felt a strength she had never felt before. The human had shown her that strength was not just about muscle or power. It was about heart, mind, and courage. The human looked at her. "We're ready," he said. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Lyra nodded, determination shining in her eyes. She knew the Zephyrans would not give up. They would come for them again, but this time they would be ready. Humans were clever, and with the human by her side, she finally felt unstoppable. Outside the valley, the wind carried whispers of pursuit. The Zephyrans were relentless, but they had never faced a human like this one, and Lyra knew deep inside that everything was about to change. The chase was over, for now. But the real test, showing her kind the true power of humans, was only beginning. Lyra and the humans stood at the edge of Zephyra City, hidden on a cliff above the bustling streets. Below them, the city glittered with alien lights, unaware of the storm that was about to shake their beliefs. The patrols had been fooled, and for now the human was safe, but the real challenge had just begun. "We can't hide forever," Lyra said, her voice firm. "They will come for you. And if they see what you can do, they might never think the same way again." The human nodded. "Then it's time," he said simply. "Time to show them." Lyra's heart pounded. She had always been mocked by her kind for caring about humans, for believing in their strength. But now, with the human standing beside her, she felt hope. She realized that this was the moment she had been waiting for all her life. Together, they descended into the city under the cover of darkness. Using narrow alleys and hidden pathways, they reached the central plaza, where the Zephyran leaders often gathered. Lyra's hands shook as she approached the gates. The leaders, tall, proud, and intimidating, were busy with their usual discussions, unaware of the events about to unfold. Lyra stepped forward, holding the human's hand. "Stop," she called. Her voice echoed through the plaza. The leaders turned, surprised. You must see this," she said. "You have judged wrong. Humans are not weak." The Zephyrans laughed at first. "A human here, among them?" They whispered, mocking her as they always had. But Lyra didn't flinch. She gestured to the human, who stepped forward calmly. Then it began. The human demonstrated his skills. With simple tools, he repaired devices no Zephyran could fix. He created protective shields from scraps of metal, moving faster and thinking clearer than anyone watching. The crowd gasped. They had never seen anything like it. One Zephyran leader stepped forward. "This is impossible," he said. "No human could do this." The human looked at him calmly. "Impossible. Only if you refuse to think differently," he replied. Lyra realized the truth in his words. Humans were creative, adaptable, and fearless, exactly what her kind had always underestimated, and now everyone could see it. The Zephyrans murmured among themselves, their expressions a mix of awe and fear. They had mocked her, laughed at her curiosity, and dismissed her beliefs, but this human proved them wrong. He showed them that strength was not only in size, muscle, or power, it was in thinking, courage, and heart. Lyra stepped forward. "This human, he is like no one you have seen. And he is not alone. There is more to humans than weakness. They survive. They adapt. They inspire." Her voice grew stronger with every word. "And if we continue to mock what we do not understand, we will fall behind." The leaders fell silent. For the first time, Lyra's words reached them. The alien girl, once mocked, was now the voice of truth. A younger Zephyrin whispered to his friend, "Perhaps we judged humans too quickly." Another nodded. The city felt different, curious, tense, and alive with possibility. The human smiled at Lyra. "We have done well," he said quietly. "But change takes time," Lyra nodded. She looked at the crowd, then at the stars above. She thought of the nights she had spent alone, studying human devices, dreaming of something more. Now those dreams were real. Humans were no longer a distant mystery. They were a force to be respected. Outside the plaza, citizens began to whisper about the events they had witnessed. Stories spread quickly. A human, clever and brave, had shown the Zephyrins a new way to think. Lyra's kind began to question old beliefs. Maybe strength was more than what they had always known. That night, Lyra and the human sat on a hill overlooking the city. The lights sparkled below them, like stars fallen to the ground. Lyra felt a mix of pride, awe, and hope. She had been mocked, ridiculed, and ignored, but now she had helped bring change to her world. "You changed everything," Lyra said softly. The human shook his head. "We changed it together," he said. "You believed. You helped me survive. You opened their minds," Lyra smiled. She realized that humans were not just strong. They were partners, thinkers, and friends. And together they could accomplish things no one had imagined. Far below, the Zephyrins looked to the stars, some in awe, some in curiosity. For the first time, they began to understand that humans were not weak. They were something new, something remarkable. Lyra and the human stood looking at the horizon. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now they had achieved something incredible. The alien girl, once mocked by her own kind, had helped a human change the world. And as the first rays of dawn touched Zephyra, Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. Together they had proven that strength could take many forms, and that sometimes the smallest and most underestimated could achieve the greatest things. The city would never be the same, and neither would Lyra.